to begin.
Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Just want to start this off with a quick, concise sentence. Don't be an asshole. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care what your gender preferences are. I don't even care what your sexual orientation is. What matters is the integrity of the person. If you're going to be an asshole, then expect to be getting responses that are similar to the vibes that you're sending out. And that's just how life is. It's not subject to who you are and what you like. So I think it's important to start moving away from victimizations within ourselves, to not use race cards or gender cards. And mind you, this is coming from a Mexican American brown boy, and allowing it to use it to our advantage to get what we want. We have to learn that, again, it's about the integrity of the person. And although this society speaks otherwise, because we all know that hate does exist, at the end of the day, what makes the person the person? If you have the heart, if you have the will, then man, everybody else is going to see that. So again, we got to move past this whole idea that because we're certain ways that we get certain freebies or certain free passes for shit. And that's not the case. We're all meat vessels, just different color ones. And we like different things. But at the end of the day, if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. And with that being said, today's guest is Angel Cedeño. He is the host of Atlascast, which you can find on Spotify and Anchor. And I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. We had the opportunity to talk a little bit about parenthood from the point of view of a father. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Today's music is with Jabbermouth with their song Bored to Death. You can find them on Spotify and on YouTube. And go follow them. Go follow Atlascast. Go subscribe. Go do your thing. And you know what? Last thing. Please go leave a review. Subscribe to the show. It helps, right? It helps anybody who, if you're enjoying the show, it's going to help somebody else who's looking for some kind of similar content. And, you know, you already got the hookups. You already know Social Primate. So spread the word. And if you do spread the word, I'm just letting you know now. If you leave a review, you take a screenshot of it, or whatever it is that you did to help support the show. If you take a screenshot of it, I promise you right now, I will skydive and I will scream your name out in front of the camera on IG Live or something. So do your thing, people. Do your thing. Without much further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. And remember to stick around at the end of the episode for the full song.
Intoxicated and stupidity. When you mix it together, you get one hell of a recipe. It's complicated. It's plain to see. The obvious connection defines just what is irony. It's the end, got to waste. I'm deserving to have a taste. And the years that are left, we just spend them being put to death. Intoxicated and stupidity. When you mix it together, you get one hell of a recipe. It's complicated. It's plain to see.
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, my guest is Angel Cedeño. He is the host of Atlascast. What's up, dude? Thank you for coming on.
How's it going, brother? Thank you for having me on, man. I'm very fortunate, very blessed. I'm, been digging your show, checked a few episodes out.
Likewise. Thanks, man. For the people who haven't heard about your show, do you mind giving us a little bit of background, especially the name of it, Atlascast? I know it's related to your son, right?
Yeah. So Atlascast was created in August of 2020. Obviously 2020 has been one of the craziest years of our lifetime. And Atlas is my son's name. I gave him that name. I specifically chose that name for him because it was a daily reminder that he had to carry his entire universe on his back. He had to be strong enough to maintain that. And if you read back to, the Greek gods and the Titans and stuff like that, Atlas's only punishment was it wasn't the world that he was carrying on his back. It was the entire universe. He separated the heavens from the earth, and he was the only one that was strong enough to do it. So Zeus pretty much said, you're the only one that could do this. This is your punishment, and he was the Titan of strategy. He was, the the Titan that took after his brother Kronos. When Kronos realized that the war was going to be lost, Atlas stepped in, and he was the only one brave enough to lead his own people against the Olympians. Granted, they lost, but he's always remembered. The Atlantic Ocean, Atlantis, the city of Atlanta. It all has to do with Atlas. And I'm very big on mythology, so I thought the name was perfect. And to be honest, the name fits him. He's a strong little boy, and he's very strategic. So, but as far as like the podcast goes, Atlascast was, I take it back to the year 1992 when I was 2 years old, and the Rodney King riots were going off. I'm from Northeast Los Angeles, so my parents and my family didn't really have much of a narrative to speak on. No one could tell me how they felt. No one could tell me what really went on in people's lives during those times. My mom worked in MacArthur Park, and I would have liked to know, like, were you in any sort of danger? What did you see? What did you witness? And I think the podcast was the right thing to do for my son, so that when he gets older, I can answer those questions with conversations that I have with real people that are going through it.
Yeah. When I initially kind of started with these conversations with the podcast, the idea was for him at some point when he's older to understand the conversations, to just kind of have something to like who's my dad, like, what is this guy like, and he'll hear the goofy, funny, uncensored stuff of who I was,
Yeah, dude, definitely. And to be honest, if you raise your sons the right way, you'll create superheroes, and that's what I hope to have. And I have a daughter now. I have a 1-month-old, and who I named Athena. Yeah.
Damn, nice, man.
Yeah. No, it's my 30s have just been a tremendous leap from who I was in my 20s, and I have my children to thank for that.
Damn, that's awesome, man. First of all, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping, we'll see what happens in a few years, but one more. I'll say one more, but kind of leaning into the parenthood stuff. I think it's interesting to just kind of be on that journey, because at least for me, again, personally, it's only been a few years since I've really found, I guess, air quotes, who I am, because I'm still searching for that, but an idea of what I want to be, right? And it's interesting because, you have this little kid that you're like kind of helping shape that as well, but at the same time, you're like, oh, fuck. And like, you start having all these doubts, right? Like these questions and the things that you question about yourself as a person trying to raise this other person. Yeah,
no, dude. And it's crazy too, because, I'll be completely honest, and I try to be as transparent as possible, but I'm not the most confident person, especially when it comes to myself, man. I oftentimes, second guess myself, or I just, tend to overthink things. And just by doing that, I waste all my time just thinking instead of doing. And when my son was born, it was kind of a sink or swim situation with me. I was, I didn't have the best parents growing up. My father immediately just walked out of my life before I was even born. And my mom was, too caught up with her own life to even, raise me. And she was in and out of my own life. But when it came to my son, I just told myself, listen, dude, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it, and you're going to do it correctly, whatever it takes. And I really do have also, their mom to thank for that too, is that, I'm a kid who was raised in a 1-bedroom apartment in East LA who thought he was never going to have anything, to now someone who has 2 kids and a mortgage. It's completely doable. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is that, there are going to be times where you doubt yourself, but you just really need to hold on and just follow through, and your kids will take on to that.
Yeah, no. And the big part there is already just like being involved, because like you said, there's many people that, especially as you get older, you start realizing like your friends or your friends' friends are like, you realize that a lot of their homes aren't like a full, like atomic family, like the 2 parents, brothers and sisters. Sometimes it's one or the other, or, no brothers, no sisters. And it's like this dysfunctional thing that a lot of people like to think that, from the outside looking in, it looks perfect, but it's not really that way until you really start hearing about all these people's experiences and their stories, that you get an idea of like, holy shit, it takes a lot more effort, like you said, to be a parent, to step up and say, I'm gonna break that pattern in a sense.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy too, is that, I always think my mom, one of the greatest things that my mom ever did for me was take me back to Mexico as a kid. My family's from Mexico City, so I got to experience that. I got to live there when I was a child. And I saw the poverty, and I saw the homelessness. I saw the kids running around with holes in their shoes. And I really do feel like that humbled me. So, when it came to me having my own children, that was still stuck in me. Like, you know what, dude, don't forget where you come from, and don't forget how easy it is for you to fall back into that,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one, especially when you've been there, once you live through it and you, like you say, you have the chance to kind of step back, you're like, okay, I don't want to be there anymore. And that's when you start putting like this new extra effort on top of yourself and just pushing through.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, dude, like it's crazy because I was never taught that. And hopefully by me teaching that to my son, it's going to make him, the greatest yet, and touching back to that whole Mexico thing is that I saw a lot of poverty, and the poverty never left a lot of my family members' lives. And, again, my mom was really big. She was a business owner. She was really big on, hey, make sure that you always have enough to cover whatever it is that you're doing monetarily. And, I really do feel like she broke those chains. And then by me coming here and having kids, I broke a lot more. So the cycle doesn't have to continue, but you can always start your own.
What do you think for you personally? What was that moment that was like, fuck, I gotta strap up my boots and shit?
You know what, bro? It was the day he was born, September 11, 2018. And it's funny too, because as on that day, I get a call from his mom, and she says, hey, I'm going to have an emergency C-section. And, I'm rushing to the hospital, and I'm just losing my mind. I'm trying to figure things out. I have dealt with like anxiety and depression for so long that I always told myself there's no way I'm going to be able to rip apart from it. It's just like, you ever watch Spider-Man and he has that black suit, the symbiote suit? Like that was my anxiety and depression. And the moment, seriously, right? Because it made me, it makes you who you are, but it also takes control of you and destroys you. But when he was born and I heard his little cries and the moment I got to hold my son, it was like something came in me and it said, hey, that's it. This is where that ends. And you can make that decision. You want to pick the negativity or you want to pick this little boy's life, and I decided I chose my son. And then, again, when my daughter was born, I was so stressed out. I'm going to have 2 kids. I didn't prepare for this. I was, in between homes. I hadn't bought my house yet. My nothing was going right for me. And again, I closed on this house. My daughter was born not too long after. And it was another one of those moments where like, hey, you built a foundation. Now it's time to build upwards. Do not stop here, and I think that's where I've been. And this is, where I've been going. And again, shout out to both my kids, shout out to their mom and the growth that I've had as a human being.
Damn, dude. And it's, for a lot of people, they'll hear this and, the people who are not parents are like, what? Like fast forward 5 minutes, of this conversation. But no. But, I think a lot of people can hit that moment in a lot of different ways and, depending on what you're doing, but nothing takes away of seeing life. It's fucking life happening right in front of your eyes. It builds up for those 9 months and then boom, you're just seeing the whole thing. And I don't think obviously that's an experience that anybody can always speak for, and yeah, man, it's breathtaking. I think that to me, I was 21 when I had my son. I'm not sure what age you were. But, at 21, I saw my friends and they were just kind of like, just doing 21-year-old things, just going to college, doing all these party stuff. And I was like just at home, and at the moment, at some points during that time, it's easy for you to be like, oh, fuck, like, what did I do type of thing, And now I like looking back and, it's like all this shit had to happen, like you're grateful for everything you see. Not that I never had emotions for my son. I've always loved him. I'm telling everybody right now, don't send child protection services. Like my whole life, the moment he was conceived till the moment that he's right now, right? And it's been fucking crazy, man. It's like a super psychedelic experience that I'm just seeing in a complete sober state. And he's getting close to 10, man. He's gonna be almost in his puberty years, and I'm kind of nervous, dude. I'm kind of nervous.
I would be too. Shit. That's scary, man.
Like you could just go on the phone and just type up whatever at some point, you know? Like I was 8. I just had to find scraps of magazines somewhere that somebody threw out, you know?
And use your imagination, right?
Or the static on the TV, you know?
Oh, especially if your like aunts and uncles had those black boxes, bro. You did channel 99, just, you know, trying to mess with the cables and stuff. You know, it's funny, you know, and you're absolutely right, because I think you and I were part of the generation that we didn't have that instant gratification where we had, you know, information at our fingertips at literally whatever time we wanted. You know, we have infinite amount of knowledge at our fingertips, and we use it to look at pictures of cats and cholos with high socks. You know, that's where we're at with things.
How are the socks? Yeah.
Oh, the downer the fool. You know how it goes.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy. It's a crazy. Now that you're bringing up the technology stuff, I kind of want to use that as a kind of segue for this next topic that I wanted to bring up. And apparently, like for people who have iPhones, Siri from now on is not going to be defaulted as a female voice.
What's it going to be defaulted as?
So apparently, when you sign up, where you're setting up your iPhone, you're going to have the option to choose male or female, Australian male, English man. You have options, right? But it's not defaulted to a female. And initially, when I first looked at that, I was like, what the hell? That's just dumb, right? But then I started kind of reading a little bit more into the why they're kind of implementing this, and how a few months ago there was like this whole argument about how setting up female voices as a default for devices, it starts giving the younger generation ideas that the female voice is, you know, it's willing to do whatever you ask it to, like, hey Siri, check the weather. So, you know, they hear a female voice and then now they're going to, oh, Siri just answered right now.
It's pretty much saying that, you know, hearing a female
checking the
voice
weather for me. Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's like pretty much saying like hearing a female voice would make it submissive to whatever it is you want it to do.
Exactly. So there's that point. Yeah. So, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I think at some point we like to overthink into subjects, you know, into whatever thing, just because that's what our brain is fucking conditioned to do as well. It's just always trying to find an answer for everything. And yes, but then once you kind of read into it, I kind of started seeing like the why. Okay, like it makes sense that the fact that you're using just Siri as a female voice can insinuate at some point that like it's going to do whatever you ask it to do, right? Like you're above it, right? In a way.
Yeah.
I hardly use Siri, and I like using the fucking the English voice. Right now it's the regular one because I haven't changed it, but usually it's the British guy. He sounds like Jarvis from Iron Man, you know? It's like he's just an assistant, but I can see the argument behind, you know, like saying Siri female equals assistant. But,
you know what's crazy is that I probably would have thought that the topic would be dumb until you explain that, because, you know, again, I have a daughter and,
yeah,
you know, I have a 1-month-old, and it's funny because, you know, at the time you want to play with your kids, you tell them little sweet things. And what's crazy is that like, I'm always in your ear, like whispering in your ear, like, hey, I just want you to know that you're going to be the first PhD in my family. Like I'm really big on her with that. Like, don't feel ever that you need to bow to another man just because you're a woman. Women are just as strong, if not stronger than men. I hate to say it, big dog. Like, can you push out a baby? I know I can't.
Hell no, man. Shit, man, it hurts. Like certain little things hurt. I'm just like, hell no, I can't. I'm not gonna be able to take that.
Exactly. You know, I always tell the story, and again, I know she gets mad whenever I tell it. But my girl beat COVID and then had the baby the next day.
Oh my god.
Full symptoms and everything.
Oh man, that's true warrior right there. Show me a man that's doing that right now.
Yeah, bro. I got the shot and I had to call out the next day.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, that was a good one, man. Hey, but it's the truth, you know, and it's like these things that you don't necessarily pay attention to that could have these, you know, consequences in the future, you know. And again, like humans change throughout time. It's not immediate, right? Like our behaviors don't change immediately. So it could be a possibility that if this prolongs, it could, you know, I don't know, segue into something else. But it's kind of hard to tell, you know, because a lot of people, like right now, like you said, I read it first and I was like, man, this is a dumbass headline. Like, but then the science behind it, and you're like,
Oh,
Okay, well, I mean, that's good. I can at least comprehend that, and I think I hate to say it, and like how we said earlier, that we have infinite knowledge at our fingertips, but we refuse to read it when it's right in front of us.
Yeah, exactly. There was an episode that it was the one with Ranting with Ramos. Great episode, by the way. I'm
Thank you.
hopefully reaching out to him to get him on the show as well. But besides the point, it's the whole idea that oh man, fuck, I forgot what we were talking about. You said shit. Hold on, let me
on my episode with Ranting with
you
Ramos.
guys brought up a point. Oh man, what was the point? The media. About the media itself. Yeah. So, a lot of people, you start hearing that statement, and then people start like, oh, you sound like Trump, like the media. But it's like, no, there's some truth. Although crazy that guy was to me, like in certain things, there was like these moments where you're like, oh my God, this guy's making sense. And you don't want to feel like he's making sense because you're giving him credit. But then you're like, fuck, he is making some sense. And in some ways, calling out the media was one of them. And I think that was necessary because, now you see it with what's going on with Biden, and everything looks kind of sugar coated, right? Like everything looks sprinkled with like no fucking like unrest and stuff. And the stuff that is happening, they're just kind of like not really putting it on the headlines. So I think, I think that's one of the biggest things that I see, like for my kid, and I see my nieces, sometimes they're on the devices and they're seeing YouTube videos, and obviously those are individually made because there's other people behind those channels, but they're using all these fucking words to kind of manipulate them to go into this video. And you realize like that's happening on a major scale on everything you're watching. And you start seeing it and you're like, man, how much am I going to allow them to consume of that before you're like, hey, fuck, I don't know, give them an awareness that they shouldn't be manipulated with just seeing specific words and sentences that catch your attention immediately. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think us as adults, man, we I hate to say it, you and I come from a generation in which we were kind of fucked out of enjoying our adult lives because we have to work so much and we have to pay so much and we have to get taxed so much that we kind of missed the point of, I hate to say it, back in the days, not only were your kids, but your brothers and sisters' kids were your kids and your kids were their kids. I remember my aunts picking up the slack for my mom, and my mom at times, picking up the bill for my aunts, and I don't see that happening anymore because these kids are, we're working 2 or 3 jobs or we're doing everything we can to provide. And, a tablet is raising these children, iPads are raising these children. And like how you said that there's, specific keywords, based off an algorithm. And I think that's one of the things that I said in that episode, in which, the algorithm of whoever runs the show is going to run what you watch, what you see, what you say, that I hate to say it, what we've been through recently is what created these conservatives that hate liberals, these liberals that hate conservatives. I hate to say it, I don't think we had this issue when George Bush was president, Yeah,
everything seemed a little calmer.
Yeah,
in retrospect,
and he was dumb.
yeah, man, that guy was really questionable.
But I hate to say it, we go as far back as the 60s and the 70s. George Bush's father was always running the show behind the scenes when he was an FBI director. He became president. Then came Bill Clinton for 2 years. Then came George Bush for another, for 2 terms. Then came George Bush for another 2 terms. Then came Barack Obama with Hillary Clinton as a Secretary of State for 8 years. And, you had Donald Trump get thrown into the mix and really mess everything up. And then again, Joe Biden comes again. And this is going to be 12 years of the Obama administration.
Exactly.
It's not making sense for any of us.
Yeah. And I think, once you kind of like look back, right, you start putting these together, like, okay, you start seeing who's associated with who, you start seeing who helped this guy. And you're like, okay, it's technically not like, what's the word I'm trying to say here? Like royalty bloodlines, right? Like Queen Elizabeth, right? It's just passed on through fucking their bloodline and shit. It's kind of here, but in a bigger, it's not even like, it's not blood. It's just based on fucking like just who you know in your circles, your inner circles, right? They're just passing the ball like, oh, it's this guy's turn. And just again, like the whole thing with the media, which really bothered me because again, I'm not a Trump guy. I didn't vote for Trump. I usually don't even, if people are going to hate me, but a lot of the times I don't vote, not because I just, I don't know why I'm not voting, but I'm the type of guy who's just like, vote, what's the vote Kong and vote Kang, Simpsons, vote the aliens. I'm just
Kang and Kodos.
Oh yeah, Kang and Kodos. There you go. That's me. I'm like, okay, they're both of the same thing, right? And people are like, oh, you still gotta choose a lesser evil. Whatever. That's another episode. But the point is, when Trump was in office, you would see every little thing that he did was put on blast.
Yeah,
like he's eating nachos. Oh, but he's not supporting immigration or something, right?
Right.
Just like every little thing about him was just a media headline, a media headline, a media headline. And at some point, you're just like, fuck, man, I don't want to hear about this anymore. And you stop listening, right? You stop listening to that and to the important stuff that is actually supposed to be on the headlines. And you're just fed up with everything. But now with Joe Biden on the administration as a chief of fucking the country, dude, man, I'm getting too hyped up on my emotions. Hold on, let me breathe for a second.
Yeah, take a deep breath, big dog.
I'm like fucking rambling. I can't even breathe. Okay, deep breath. So Joe Biden now with the media and stuff, I hate seeing everything just being dumbed down, like even more, right? Like I don't know, man. I've been feeling a little pent up with all this, like, I don't know. I can't even speak right now, man.
Get it out,
Take
bro.
the mic.
Get it
Take
out.
the mic.
Nah, but and you know what, dude? I completely agree with you. When I always tell the story, but when I was 13 years old, bro, I had to testify in front of a judge and in front of a lawyer to plead and beg to have my mom stay in this country. And I remember, and my mom was, and I never understood it. My mom was a small business owner. My mom, even being an illegal immigrant, was already a taxpayer because of her business. And again, I had to sit in front of a judge and have her ask me, do you think you would be able to live a comfortable life if your mom were to be deported? No. What would happen to you? I would have to go to Mexico. I would have to be with my mom. Mm-hmm. And I remember when after the judge and I spoke, I had to go outside, and it was I guess the case had to keep going, and it was her and her lawyer and the judge by themselves, and I got moved into, I guess, a lobby area, and I was there in slacks and and in a button-up shirt, and then here came this kid who was the same age as me in shackles, and it was him and his brothers like on the I looked at them and I'm like, dude, I'm assuming your parents lost their case. And it was frightening to me, bro. It's I asked the officer, I asked like the bailiff that was out there sitting with me, because I was a minor, I was like 13. I asked him like, so what's going to happen if the judge kind of says no to my mom? And like, he took a deep breath and he goes, that's what's going to happen. I never got over that, bro. Like, these kids in cages, dog, that could have been me. That literally could have been me. And I took such a vocal stance for so long. Kids in cages. It's been going on since the Obama administration, and Obama deported more people than George Bush, Donald Trump, and Bill Clinton combined. It's ridiculous how we constantly think that these, I'm not trying to, I'm not a big Democrat. I'm not a big Republican. I hate them both the same. But it's funny how we pick and choose who our heroes are, because that's who they let us pick. There's nothing in between. And if you try to pick in between, you're seen as a traitor both ways, and that's where we're at with things. But like how you were saying, bro, is everything sugared down? Fuck yeah, it is, bro. Like, how is it that everyone wants to talk about this? Oh, there's a surge at the border. There's kids coming in. There's adults bringing in kids that aren't theirs. You know what, big dog? You don't know what it's like south of the border. You don't know how 30% of the women in the city of Juarez are being raped and murdered on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. People aren't having to live with the cartel kicking down the front door, taking everything that you have, taking your children to go fight in a war. People don't know what that's like. And it's not even just them. We have Southeast Asians from Thailand, India, Cambodia. We have Haitians. We have Jamaicans. We have every single color doing their absolute best to come here. It's funny. Like, I have a coworker who's Cuban, and he goes, bro, being poor in America outweighs being poor in Cuba any day.
Fuck yeah, dude. And so the thing is, again, like people just see their surroundings and they just assume that that's the reality of everything else in the fucking world, right? And it's easy to get lost in that because you're not dealing like sometimes I'm driving in the freeway and I see like the mountain range between us, like around LA, you know, because we're in a little like a little dome, or not a dome, like we're in a
valley.
And you start seeing this, and so again, it's easy for people to just assume that the world. I mean, you know, there's more, but like this is my reality. Oh, if there's a fire in New York City, I don't care, right? You know, you just see it on the media, but you deassociate from it because you have no connection to it.
That's sadly how most Americans think. You know, you always hear the go back to where you came from comment, and I'd be the first person to say you wouldn't make it from where my family's from. You wouldn't make it a day, you know, having to drink the water that's been, you know, poisoned for thousands of years. You couldn't walk a mile in my mother's shoes, having to cross that border pregnant with me. You know, that's the reality of things. And people like, oh, well, I'm American, I'm entitled to this. I'm sorry, big dog, but Mexico ran the show from all the way from Mexico all the way to British Columbia. Vancouver belonged to the Aztecs, you know, and not just that, but we shared this land with, I like saying we, but I mean, if you look at me, there's, you know, not much brown in here, but, you know, the Aztecs and the Aztecs and the Olmecs and all the Native American tribes all shared here. You know, I hate to say it, the colonizers need to get deported, but hey, I'm not one to kick someone out of their home.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's just people just like think they just, honestly, I think it's always an ego thing. Like I try to bring it to the human nature of why it is that these people act this way. And it's like this just inflated sense of self, you know? And I think a lot of us haven't been knocked to the ground, not physically. I mean, sometimes every now and then you need to get knocked down physically, but I'm saying like mentally, psychologically, you know, and it's not until you get put into a place where you really have to find your way out of this fucking obstacle and you come out like this, you know, clear-headed person of who you are in this place and how everybody kind of, you know, we're all just part of the same fucking hive mind, you know. It's
yeah, I think you're explaining what a community is, you know, and we yeah, seriously, bro, because we talk about tradition. Like, you know, I now live in Las Vegas, and it's obviously not the same as Los Angeles. You know, I grew up in Northeast LA. I ran, you know, the streets a lot in East LA with my cousins. So going to El Mercadito, La Placita Olvera, yeah, and even just down the street from, you know, on York and Figueroa Boulevard, I felt home because the food was there, the culture was there, the people was there, and that gave you the mindset of who you really are, well, what you think you really are. You know, and you come out here and you start seeing, you know, there's a different hustle and bustle. You have to interact with different kinds of people. And sometimes they might not like chamoy on their chips. So you have to do something a little different, you know, and, but I think, you know, and how you say, you know, this hive mind, it's dangerous, you know, it's meant to protect you. I get it. But at the same time, it's also meant to keep other things out, and those other things could be beneficial to you. Like, you know, you build walls, and I think it's very ironic that Mexican people build walls, because building walls is exactly what's keeping you from coming here. You know,
right.
I'm like, I'm not okay with the ignorance that comes with it. You know, and I'm not saying every Mexican out there is ignorant. I'm just basing it off, you know, what some of my family members would say. I'm half Korean, you know, but being called Chino every day wears you down. Like, I'm not Chinese, but that's just the label that you're given, so you go with it.
Damn, dude, that must be fucking hard just to, I mean, anybody put in that situation, you know, a lot of people think like, it's like, my brother, when he was younger, they used to call him gordo. And it's like, you know, it's like the cariño. It's like this little sentimental, intimate name that you call between your family, but you really don't know how that's affecting him psychologically. And it wasn't until years later when he was like, yeah, I never liked it. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, again, my whole thing is like, I like bringing up to why we act in certain ways, like the whole psychological part of it. And one thing that I did hear, like in the conversation with you and Jose from Ranting with Ramos, was like the whole, well, he was bringing it up in terms of like, not a race war type of thing, but just bringing up how like each different race group, they're causing problems with each other. So, you know, there's like a lot of tension per se. But I think one thing that is also hardly brought up is the fact that within us, within the brown people, the Spanish speaking raza, there's a lot of tension between cultures, you know, Hondureños,
Yeah.
Guatemaltecos, Mexicanos. And a lot of people don't want to address that. They just think that because, well, outside of that, every other group would just see brown and they assume that everybody's Mexican. But again, between each other, there's a lot of hate. And I don't see anybody addressing it, but I think until we get that resolved within us, there's no point in trying to hold others responsible for how we're not being, going up as well, you know? And I think that's something we gotta figure out like as soon as possible, you know, because like everybody says, I think by 2030 or a couple of years, we're not going to be the minorities anymore, right? There's going to be a majority in terms of population.
Yeah, dude. And what's crazy is that, you know, everyone always, you know, oh, we've never been so divided like we have been. Like, bro, brown people have been divided since the dawn of time. Like, but just like how you're saying, like in the next few years, we're not going to be the minority. We will be the majority. Spanish speaking people, Spanish will be the most spoken language in the country, you know, and I always point this out that, you know, California is the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
the one state.
Exactly. One state is the 5th largest economy in the world. So you mean to tell me if brown people can get it together, we can, damn near take control of the 5th largest economy in the world, you know, and that's where we are with things. And I know what you're saying. No one addresses it, bro. Like growing up in a Mexican household, you know, you hear it, bro. Like, oh, no te juntes con él porque es cerote. Like, why does it have to fucking be that way, bro? Like, and I always told myself that being Korean was a curse to me, but it really taught me how to step outside of being, you know, what everyone else was and seeing things for what they really are. Like, that's just another human being. It's his actions that make him a fucking asshole. It's not where he's from.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Yes. So I had this experience recently with some customer at my job, and I won't go into a whole thing with it, but he ended up bringing up some points at the end. I don't know nothing about this guy. He's just some guy who comes into the store and he was being an asshole. So I called out his attention, like, hey man, you can't do these certain things when you come into the store. Otherwise I'm gonna have to have you step outside. And point is, he sent this angry email, and towards the end of it, he goes, is it because I'm from New York, or is it because I'm gay? And it's like, what? Like, the fact that he brought up those points, like, to me was just like, man, you're just trying to like make this about something, right? And just kind of put the blame on that. Like, you're calling out that card out, like, oh, I'm pulling out the gay card or the black card or the Mexican card. And it's like, dude, at some point you got to just realize you're an asshole. You know, it's not, nobody's just calling you out because they think you're a certain way or because they're judging you. It's just, you're a fucking asshole. You know, it's like, come on. It's like, I didn't know nothing about this guy. And for him to assume that I would know these things, it's, again, it just shows the type of mentality that you're in, that you just, you want to find a way to kind of victimize yourself, you know, and not admit to yourself that you are being in the wrong.
You know, what's funny is that, I hate sounding like an old person, but back in my days, you try to man up and do everything you could to like prove your point. Nowadays, you only do that by victimizing yourself. You know, we live in the era of woe is me, and to a certain extent, bro, I was a lot like that. Well, not in the sense of, oh, you know, you're discriminating against me. It was like, you know, oh, I didn't get this because of this, and you know, it makes you second guess yourself. But if you really want something, if you want to do something, you go out and you do it. If not, that just means you're a lazy piece of shit. You know, it's deeper than that. Like, I hate to say it, does racism exist? Sure. Yeah, it's evident, but does hard work outdo everything? Any day. Yeah. Any day. Hard work outworks skill when skill doesn't work hard. You know, and that's where we're at with things. And I hate to say, my brown people, who works harder than them? Who's out there picking strawberries, you know, in 115-degree weather with a fire outside with COVID going on, so they have to wear masks. You know, and again, that's just the day that's just the day and age we live in. You and I are so accustomed to fighting for what we have, and kids nowadays just say, "Stop! You're giving me anxiety." You know.
Yes, and it's a difficult thing. You know, I see there's people around me who I see, and I brought this up in one of the last episodes about parenting in terms of like in a modern sense. A lot of the upcoming parents, I would say, for sure, coming from the late 80s, 90s, right? Like the newcomers. And although we have a lot of awareness in terms of the society that we've kind of been born into, like 90s internet era, fucking post Y2K, and all these big ass events in the last 30 years, it's giving us a sense of a full awareness. But I also see a lot of people, it having an effect on how they raise their children, I guess. The way, in terms of, they're more cautious about what they're doing. And I guess I want to say like helicopter
parenting.
Yeah, helicopter parenting. There you go. Fuck. And yeah, dude, it's just like this weird thing. Is like, I remember being a kid and running around and getting bruised and climbing this refrigerator to hide and all this crazy shit. And now when I see my son doing it, sometimes I'm just like, fuck, I'm just getting like this anxiety, like, get off the couch. You're going to break and fucking crack your head open. And I see it, and I feel like that, of course, it's this anxiety I feel for protection, for protecting him. But I try to like come back and be like, okay, man, he has to fall down every now and then to learn, like that's what's character building, that's what's going to make him like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to jump off that couch anymore, and a lot of parents, we stop them from doing that. We remove them instead of allowing them and kind of them learning on their own. And yeah, it's weird. It's like this weird fucking middle ground where you kind of have to find the sweet spot,
Yeah, bro, I get made fun of a lot because I'm a helicopter parent like that.
Yeah.
I really am.
And you have every right? Like we have every right to feel that way.
Yeah, but everything you just said is also very true. You have to let them. You're not going to learn until you get your ass beat by falling. And
yeah.
And what's cool about my son Atlas is that I'll give him this, bro. I've seen that boy scrape his knees, cut his elbows, hit his head. He just wipes it all off, laughs, and continues playing. Like, I was like, dude, had that been me, I would have cried until my mom showed up. But I'll give it to my little boy. He's a little tough guy, dude, and he scares me because of that. He really scares me.
No, that's cool, and I like that. I like seeing the little my nieces around me and my own kid just being like allowed to be fearless. It's a good feeling for them, and you see like they're really engaging in what they're doing when that is really happening. Like, you're not forcing it. It's just a natural way of how they are acting. And then you start realizing like, holy shit, like, okay, like you gotta allow this more. And I think, again, a lot of new coming parents, whoever's listening, they're about to be parents or thinking about it. Like, you just gotta kind of, like me, just take a fucking deep breath. Cause sometimes you get a little erratic and you gotta calm down. I
recommend that to everyone. And if you don't have any kids, don't have any. It's a crazy ass time to be having kids, bro. If you know what's crazy is that, like, I know you live in LA and I was born and raised there. I don't know how people can raise kids in LA. Like,
hey, what do you mean? Yeah, tell me more about this.
Bro, like, okay. With all due respect, big dog, I would have to get up at 5 a.m. every day to get to work at 7 or 8. There's no in between of dropping my kid off at daycare. My day now starts at 6 or 6:30. I get my son ready. I drop him off at daycare. I'm able to make coffee at work before I even clock in. So, like, I live in Vegas.
Big. Yeah. That's big, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 15-minute drive wherever I need to go, especially, where I live. And just, again, I have parks down the street, and even just getting to the other side of the city doesn't take more than 30 minutes. Tell me how long it would take you from get to the San Gabriel Valley to the San Fernando Valley.
Damn, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good point. The good thing,
I can't do that.
Yeah. COVID here, it was so nice in terms of traffic. Like, you can get from here to Hollywood in like 15 minutes. Now it's starting to come back and it's getting a little annoying. But I mean, I guess everything's opening up, so there's, I'm not gonna complain. I can go to places.
Exactly, we can go to bars again. I hate to say it, bro, but I haven't skipped a beat. I've been at Applebee's every weekend since the shutdown. So,
dude, yeah, I had a chance to go to Vegas. I think it was January this year. I went just for like a little weekend trip, and yeah, I was surprised. I'll walk into places and people were just like, I was like, oh man. But it's the whole conditioning part. Like, you see something so long for such an extended period of time that to you it starts becoming like the norm. So when you're outside of that, like when I went to Vegas, I walked into the gas station without a mask, without even thinking about it. And as soon as I walked in, I got this fucking fear, like, like, oh fuck. And I like covered my face, and the lady's like, it's gonna be $20. And I was like, oh fuck. But it was like a whole different culture, right? Like, and as soon as I got to LA, everybody's strapped up, and like, it was just weird. And it's just, again, like the whole conditioning part, like how easy it is for us to think something becomes a norm if we're exposed to it long enough, you know, and it works with anything.
Yeah. I mean, you know, back in ancient times, clothes weren't a thing, but now we have to wear those. You know, to wear shoes now, and shoes weren't a thing back in those days. But I don't see this mask thing. I hope, you know, hopefully this mask thing isn't going to be this much longer, and you know, this vaccine thing is hopefully going to get it through. I've had the vaccine since February. I've been vaccinated for a minute now, and I'll be honest, bro, nothing's changed. You know, everyone still wears a mask at my job, and I hate it, you know, but at the same time, I mean, this is, I like how you keep saying it, this is conditioning for something more. And when you don't have it, it's like, but you've grown accustomed to doing it so much now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's what I just like bringing, when I can, awareness to. It's just like a lot of our behaviors are just based on, you know, following these specific things that we think are right and that they fit into our narrative. And unless we start kind of trying to question it and really try to inspect the things, you know, I for sure have my own comfort zones, you know, but I like testing myself every now and then. And the moment I feel like this, I don't know, this tightness in my chest or something, I was like, okay, I'm doing something out of my comfort zone. Maybe I should keep trying it out, you know, and that's how I kind of feel like I keep breaking through certain behaviors that I personally have.
Yeah, I think that comes with every bit of manhood, you know. That's how things are. That's actually how you discover, you know, who you really are. You know, you're not going to know until you take that leap. But to be honest, it's like, I don't think I want to do that. It is. I don't know. But as you know, as far as being fathers and teaching that to our sons, I mean, how else are we going to expect them to really learn, you know, what the world has in store for them?
Like, there's this thing that always kind of resonates with me, and I always think about when I'm trying to give, like, air quote advice, right? Because now I'm in the shoes where instead of me going to my dad, I still do it every now and then, but he was my go-to. He was the one who gave me the answer to whatever it is that I was feeling, you know. And now that I have that, and you know, it's weird because now you see that you as a parent, you don't always have all the answers, you know, and you just have to, in a sense, put up this front, like, don't worry, I got this. Like, even if you know you don't fucking got it, you put up that front and you figure out a way that you're going to be like, hey, I got it, you know, and I think that in itself, it gives you that extra confidence too, you know, as you continue to evolve as my own individual self, a 30-year-old, on the path to trying to become a better father and a better individual for myself. It's like this weird feeling like you just put in these shoes where you're kind of expected to just fit or fill immediately. And that's not the case. You know, it's a lot of trial and error. And I think to me, that's been the most hardest part, just trying to put my full effort at this whole father thing, you know?
Bro, and you know, what's funny is that I know that can really, you know, you would be really hard on yourself when it comes to that, but no one blames you. You know, I grew up fatherless, you know, the majority of my life. And I realized that, you know, I lose my patience with my son, and I, you know, I can't say like I snap at him, but like his mom, like, you know, my girl always has to check me like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. And in my head, I'm like, well, this was common to me growing up. And no, but that's not the norm. You know, and how you say you have to put up a front, and sometimes you don't know what you're doing. You're absolutely right. And for those people that want to judge and say, hey, that maybe that guy's a bad father, most of them that say that are I'm pretty sure aren't parents. You know, and then you trying to achieve something, you know, this early in your life, because, you know, 30 isn't old, although we feel like it. There's a big learning curve, bro. There's a very big learning curve, and again, a lot more is taken from, well, not necessarily from us. We give a lot more, especially when you're so young and have these kids. I mean, you had your kid at 21, bro. I had mine at 28. I think mine was the appropriate time. Had I had a kid at 21, bro, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know where my kid would be. I was a bad 21-year-old, you know, and I think it just shows the type of man you are that have had the discipline to make sure that your son made it to 10 at least, you know?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, and still like fully intact, all limbs are still there.
Seriously.
Nah, but yeah, man, it's a weird experience. And so I like when I have the conversations with other dads, because you can talk to anybody else about it, but at the end of the day, it's like you're not part of that experience yet, right? Whether you decide to or not. And yeah, it's I don't know, it's been weird, and I think it's probably gonna get a lot weirder. But yeah, dude, I don't even know how to comprehend. I don't even think I want one now that we've had this conversation. I don't think I want another one.
Good, bro. This is therapy. I'm talking you out of it.
I'm gonna go back to this conversation later on. Watch.
Show
it to my partner. Be like,
Yeah, they're going to be like, you know what? That little Korean guy from Vegas had a point right there. Dude, it's hard, And I take my kids to daycare, and just like, I was given a quote today on how much it's going to cost my daughter and my son to go to the same daycare, and I'm like, oh, all right, so I'm back to pinching pennies,
Oh man, yeah, that's how they get you.
Yeah, man, but this is our lives, and this is how we deal with it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the way that you show the world how much of a man you are is by continuing to do this, by continuing to raise your son, because everyone wants to say you're not man enough to do X, Y, and Z until you walk away from your fucking kids,
Yeah. There's this, I'm not sure if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's volume 2, where at the end, one of the characters, Yondu, he's this whole parent dilemma, that shit. But he says this line, and he goes, "I'm not your," and what he says, "I may not be your father, but I'm your daddy." And I was like, dude, yeah. And that makes perfect sense, because, anybody can be a dad. Anybody can just go ahead and just impregnate somebody, right? But not everybody has the strength to just stick around and just see it through, right? Like, whether, things with partners are great or not, like, the whole thing is, are you a daddy, No, like, you got to figure that out.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, bro. I lack a lot of qualities that most men have, bro. I'm not real handy with tools and shit like that. I can't cut you a 2x4 and make you a fucking spice rack, but when I'll learn how to fucking make enough money to buy you one.
We should start a club, man. We gotta start a club.
Oh, the dad, unhandy dads.
Unhandy dads. We're gonna get fucking hits.
Yeah, bro, like, we'll give you the number to Angie's List. Fuck that. Don't reach out to us.
I like your answer though. Yeah, you'll find a way to fucking just get one. Professionally done with warranty and everything.
There you go, and not from the Curaçao either. Somewhere nice.
Oh God, Curaçao's gonna come after me, man.
They came after me a long time ago, dog. They sent my ass to collections and everything. To all the kids out there that are listening, keep your credit right. It'll benefit you.
Yeah, man, that's for sure. And I kind of want to be. We're just at that time to kind of start wrapping this up. But I know on your show you give a little at the end, like some word of advice. So what is your advice, man? What's your advice to those kids?
My advice to those kids is keep two faces. One looking forward at all times and one looking back. But when you look back, don't look at the things that traumatized you. Look back at the things that traumatized you, but learn from them so you don't have to go through them again. If there's a toxic person in your past life that was toxic to you for so long, and you see that from someone in your future, completely avoid them, because you'll be stepping away from a hurdle instead of having to try to jump over it. Look to the future, look to the past at the same time, and always reevaluate where you are in life. That's what's going to get you where you need to be.
Ooh, I love that. Being a child, being a son to somebody, I remember just ignoring everything everybody was telling me, like, because I thought I knew everything. And it's not now you're like, dude, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything back then. And now you see it from a child's perspective, and they're thinking the same way. And now you trying to push something onto them, it becomes like this whole parent, like, oh, fuck, my dad's telling me all this shit. I don't want to hear it. And then now I'm in those shoes now. And it's like, fuck. But I love what you said, man. I love what you said. And I'm glad you put it in those words, dude.
Yeah, no, you have to do it, bro. And I know my son's going to give me pushback. I know my daughter's going to give me pushback. But as much as they want to push me, all the way back, I'm their dad, and I'm going to be there alongside them every fucking step of the grueling way. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be sad. It's going to be hard, but God damn it, I will fucking be there.
Dude, hell yeah. Everybody listening, you got to be a fucking daddy.
Seriously.
You got to be a daddy.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Man, for people who want to find your show, if people want to get more information on just your journey, where can people find you?
You can find me on Spotify. Atlascast is the name of the podcast. I'm on Apple Podcasts. I'm on Anchor. I'm on Stitcher. You can find me on Instagram, Atlascast_702. And again, my name is Angel Cedeño. If you guys ever need to reach out, to have me on one of your shows or you be on mine, I'm always welcome to that.
Damn. Thank you again, Angel. And with that, people, we'll let you go. We'll let you have a good night. Angel, that means you as well. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, man. And I hope this is not the last time we have a conversation.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, man. Everybody, and yourself as well, have a good night.